If you could get a redo on your life, what would you do?
Dang, what a way to start out. That was a doozy, but take a second and think about it. Do you feel overwhelmed or even powerless? Do you feel like you have to put your head down and trade more hours for dollars, or that you have to do everything yourself?
If so, maybe it's time to think about how would you redo your investing. And that's okay. We are all here to help.
There's a rule out there that just might help shift your way of thinking. If you've been hanging around the investing world for a while, you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule. Now, you might be thinking the 80-20 rule is not a new buzzword, or it's not a new idea by any means. We know, but today we're gonna talk to you about what it means to us as investors.
And not only that, but how it actually could make 80% of your work disappear while getting the piece of the pie. Let's get into it.
Let's talk a little history to help us understand where this whole concept came from. I may be butchering this name. Goffredo Federico Damaso Pareto was born in Italy in 1848, and you might recognize his name as the renowned economist and also a philosopher. You can read more about it in the link provided in the show notes description, but the story goes that one day he was out in his garden, probably thinking philosophical thoughts, deep thoughts of course, and he noticed that 20% of his peas were actually producing 80% of the produce.
You might be wondering, what garden piece have to do with investing? Hang with us for a few seconds here, because basically this moment caused him to think about the idea of uneven distribution and how at that time 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population.
It turns out after digging into this even deeper, the same concept applies across a variety of industries and applications, from land to sales to employee performance, even down to what app you use. Now, to be clear, this last one was not part of his discovery in 1848.
Anyways, what he discovered became a larger generalization that we still know and use today. 80% of the result will come from 20% of action. This has become known as the Pareto principle, and it is widely used in business management.
If you think about it, the implication is staggering. What are your input? How about your output? What 20% of your wardrobe do you actually wear 80% plus of your time? Without getting all Marie Kondo on you guys, this can have pretty serious implications on your wardrobe. And it might be time to pull out that donation box out of the garage and, spring cleaning or fall cleaning.
Yeah, right now, right? So this principle not only applies to work productivity, but it also applies to investing. We totally agree with this principle in so many ways. But today we want to talk about this 80-20 rule with a slight twist. We believe that 80-20 rule proves that multifamily apartment investing is the best investment vehicle.
In the Kitty Kingdom, we are big fans of the financial formula, which is optimization, maximization, and systematization.
And often ask ourselves, how do we magnify the output with small input? AKA, how do we get the most while doing the least? Because here at the Kitty Sister Kingdom, we don't believe in trading more time equal to making more money.
As a refresher, in multifamily apartment syndications, there are two types of investors. Active investors, aka general partners or sponsors, and then there's the passive investors or limited partners.
As the name would suggest, the role of active investor is to be active. This means they throw 100% of their efforts towards sourcing the properties, building a relationship with brokers and or seller, securing the best loans, raising capital, hiring the best property management team, implementing a sound business plan, communicating with their passive investors, and asset managing their properties to maximize its potential returns.
That's music to all passive investors' ears, right? Competition is fierce, so active investors may be looking at hundreds of deals before the right one is discovered. And even then, there's no guarantee that we'll win the deal. We spend hours upon hours on a daily basis talking to brokers, underwriting properties, touring properties, etc. And then that's all done before we even raise a penny from our investors. Needless to say, there's a lot of upfront work that happens way before a property is even purchased.
For some context, at the Kitty Sister, our team spend 365 days per year working to purchase properties. In 2021, we were able to purchase 3 large apartment complexes with a value of over $80 million.
If you take the 40 business hours per week times 12 months, that's over 480 hours per year. And that's just what happens on the front end. It doesn't include the 3 to 5 years after the property is purchased that we have to manage the asset every single day.
So for the 3 properties we purchased in 2021, we'll spend another 480 hours times 5 years to manage them. That totals to 2,880 hours to manage all the assets we have under management. Let's be clear, this isn't like 2,888 hours from just us, right? Obviously, we have a team who are dedicated to work on these property. And yes, our team worked really hard to make sure we do our best to ensure our investor are happy with their investment performance.
On the flip side, passive investors also have some upfront work they have to do. This includes vetting out the general partnership team that they will be investing with and reviewing the care strategy that we've gone over in previous episodes.
But ultimately, we estimate that it should take a passive investor 3 to 4 hours max to complete all the necessary steps to invest in multifamily apartment syndication.
Once you've done the work one time of vetting the sponsorship team, if the team has another deal, you don't have to vet them out again if you already trust and know that they've got something that could pique your interest. Once you found your team, you can trust them to create your wealth generating machine 24/7.
3 to 4 hours versus 2,880 or more sound a bit of an imbalance in the favor of passive investor, right?
The compensation is also skewed in that direction. For 0.1% of the effort, the passive investors get to take home 80% of the profit.
Raise your hand virtually. Who wouldn't take this type of compensation structure?
We know 100% of you guys all raise your hand, if not both hands.
Let's take a look at this in the context of business. Typically, businesses with partners have varying degrees of partnerships, and the compensation structure will reflect this.
Let's say you own a factory that produces unicorn cotton candy and you're the best at it, and your business is thriving, but you need to bring in some partners so that you can expand your manufacturing capacity.
So you go to a few people you know and say, hey, Mary and Samantha, would you be interested in joining my company as silent partners? You can invest in X dollars and I will split the profit 80% to me because you know I'm doing all the work, I have all the experiences, expertise, and of course I bring most of the capital to keep the business growing. While you guys, Mary and Samantha, you'll get 20% of the profit. Since Mary and Samantha are not doing anything to run the business, they don't do anything day to day, they say yes, right? Because 20% of the profit for doing virtually nothing is pretty much an infinite return.
Again, for multifamily apartment investing, the rule of 80-20 applies in the inverse. You see, you do 0.1% of the work, however, you're able to receive 80% of the profit. That's a pretty amazing deal if you ask us.
Well, in our humble opinion, there aren't a lot of asset classes that give passive investor that kind of split structure, right? As a matter of fact, Palm and I would love to be passive investor for the rest of our life. We wouldn't want to deal with any rowdy tenants or lift a paintbrush ourselves.
We have a friend who's a big-time private equity founder. His job is to go around finding businesses that he can take over, improve, and then sell later for a huge profit. When we described multifamily apartment syndication's compensation structure, he scoffed at us and said, "Now, why in the world would I ever do that?" In another type of investment, the active or general partner are the ones who get 80% of the profit, and the passive investors only get 20%.
We think Jeff Patton said it best. At the end of the day, your job is to minimize output and maximize outcome and impact. That sounds so simple, but it's so powerful.
Passive investing through apartment syndication is an amazing way to create wealth without having to do it all and get all the benefits. You can have your cake and eat it too. Make it red velvet and we're in.
Here's how you can get involved in the 80-20 rule of multifamily apartments, where you don't have to do all the work in the apartment investing world. All you have to do is just join the Kitty Freedom Club, where we do all the work and you get to keep 80% of the profit.
If you like this episode, click like, share, and write a comment or review. We love to hear from you guys. What do you guys want to learn about? Whether it's passive income, apartment investing, life strategy, or best tips and tricks for owning your own time.
That's it for us today. Thanks for tuning all the way to the end, and we'll see you next episode. Cash Multiplier out.